Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was created in the Off My Chest subreddit by a user named Ogre in Distress. The post is titled, "Girl from Friend Group falsely accused me of assaulting her to the rest of my close friends. They cut contact with me without even confronting me about it. A year later, they regret taking her side after learning the truth about her. I don't know why I'm writing this because this is all behind me, but I feel like I should get this off my chest anyway, because I haven't really talked about this with anyone. And it's going to be a long one, so grab something to drink." A little backstory. I was 16 years old when I became close to a group of 4 friends online that were a few miles away from the town I grew up in. I've always had trouble making friends at school because I couldn't find someone who had the same interests as me, so I guess I was sort of the weird kid in class and was the odd one out. I've always kept my interests to myself because they're so different from everyone else's. Anyway, after I met these 4 friends from a meme group on Facebook, as I remember, we became close and we made our own friend group where we talked about a lot of personal things and didn't really try to hide our different lives. For context, 2 of the friends were the same age as me, one was 2 years older and the other one was 2 years younger than us. It felt like we were a family of brothers and I've never really had someone to count on like I did with them, not even now. They were great. Then we met another group of friends online, but they were girls and had their own friend group. They were all the same age as me and we bonded really well. I would be lying if I said I didn't have a crush on one of them, but that quickly faded as I learned we would be better off as friends. Now, for the sake of the readers, I'll skip all this and delve straight into the main things. But first, I'd like to add that the girl who accused me of assaulting her entered the friend group of girls only after a year of us knowing each other. And it was weird adjusting to her, but we had fun with her regardless because we were all so similar and had similar interests and humor. Now, after 2 years of getting to know this friend, let's call her Cindy, along with the group of guys whom I had a close bond with and the group of girls we'd become somewhat close with, all moved to the same city to pursue our own dreams, most to study in college. But I wanted my own career in the sales and marketing industry and decided to get an internship, which you can easily get from where I'm from as long as you have decent grades and a high school diploma, which I had. So I pursued that and after 2 years got a job with decent pay. I'm still studying and doing online classes so I can land an even better job at a better company. Anyway, back to the story. During these 2 years, I hung out a lot with these friends I'd made online, and it was awkward at first, but we eventually warmed up and started to hang out like any other friend group. We even met up with the girls from the friend group, even Cindy. Though it was only a few times I met her in real life, she didn't really seem like the type to have a grudge, especially not against me as we got along great. One night she called me over to this park saying she wanted to hang out because one of the girls from our friend group had an emergency and had to go home. So she was all alone and wanted to hang out with someone until she had to go home as well. And because everyone else was busy and I had just come home after finishing my shift, I decided to go and hang with her. Mind you, this was around 9 p.m., yet it was like a famous park, so people were still around since the park closed around 11 p.m. Anyway, we hung out for 2 hours talking and laughing while calling our other friends and taking pictures, usual goofy friend stuff. After that, she wanted to go home and asked if I wanted to come home with her and drink some coffee and hang out until midnight, which was weird, but I said, sure, why not? And then she proceeded to tell her roommate that she was going to be over and that she was bringing a guy and wanted to know if any of her friends were over at their apartment. I didn't think much about it at first as I thought she was making sure it wouldn't be awkward to hang out in their apartment while her roommate had other friends over. The roommate then proceeded to say no, so Cindy says okay and hangs up. We walked to her apartment and got in as we saw what I guess was the roommate leave from her apartment, which weirded me out a little, but still, I didn't think much of it. We proceeded to hang out, have some fun, and drink coffee she made. We even took some snaps to show to our other friends. Anyway, after 30 minutes of hanging out and laughing, she asked me if I wanted to go home. I said no because I was a bit tired since we had basically speed walked to her apartment from the park, which was a km away. Then after talking a bit, I proceeded to leave and say goodnight to her and all was well for the night. The next day, she was acting really awkward and closed up, as if she were depressed about something. Then a few days later, out of the blue, one of my closest friends from the friend group had suddenly left the group chat. It was a shock to the rest of us, and I thought something must have happened at home because he wasn't the type to leave the group chat unless something really depressing had happened to him. I pursued him in his messages, but he ignored me. After a few days, I checked our chat again to see that I had now been blocked. I told my other friends to check what happened, and they said they were going to. Slowly but surely, one by one, they had left the group chat and blocked me except for the guy who was 2 years older than us. Even the girls from the separate group chat we were all in had left and blocked me, even Cindy. I found out later from the 2 years older friend that Cindy had accused me of trying to essay her while I was at her apartment. And this took me by complete surprise and utter confusion. Apparently, she had told all my friends one by one that when I went to her apartment that night, I tried to grab her inappropriately and tried to come on to her. She even made the claim that she had told me to leave, but I resisted and said I wasn't going to, and that I had only left after she threatened to call the police. My friend told me all this and asked me if any of this was true, and I explained to him how the whole night went in full detail. He said he believed me and that he was going to tell my side of the story to the rest, but I told him no. I told him I've seen how this is going to play out and that they're going to believe Cindy regardless of my side of the story, and that if these so-called friends were just going to block me without even confronting me about it or hearing my side of the story, then they don't deserve to be called my friends. I thanked him for sticking by me and hearing my side of the story, and that was it. I moved on, although heartbroken and extremely sad to the point where I couldn't trust anyone ever again. I kept my composure and moved on with my life. I knew the only reason she didn't file a case against me is because she couldn't prove it. Instead, she told my friends to cut contact with me and pretended to be for several weeks, which I learned recently. So after a few years of no contact with me, one of the girls from the friend group reached out asking if any of the things Cindy had told them were true. At first, I laughed at the text and asked her why she wanted to know now all of a sudden. She just kept asking me, and so I told her how that whole night went down. She was in shock and was really sorry she ever believed that B word. I asked her why she wanted to know all about this all of a sudden, and she said it was because Cindy had shown her true colors to them and they saw how much of a narcissistic, disgusting pig she was. I don't exactly remember what she had done, but it was somewhere along the lines of Cindy sleeping with multiple people and the girls from the friend group finding out in different ways. She was basically a street gardening tool, but there were so many lies and betrayals from her that they decided to completely cut her off. I myself was surprised and didn't understand the extent of just how much of a POS she really was. The girl that reached out kept saying sorry to me, and I told her that I had already forgiven her and the rest of the girls because we weren't that close. So I understand them taking Cindy's side over mine. But I said that I can never forgive the other three because they were my closest friends and that I at least expected them to confront me about it, and that them not doing so made me realize that I can never trust them again. She told me she understood and we got to catching up. I then later found out that the reason none of them confronted me was because Cindy had convinced them not to do so and that she feared for her life that I might do something to her. She kept being within those weeks and had told my friends that she had harmed herself too, but when they met up for a get-together, they couldn't see any scars on her arms. So yeah, that's my story. The old friends that I decided not to forgive tried reaching out to me through mutual friends, but I have turned them down every time and they have stopped trying since. I genuinely don't think I can forgive them because we were as close as brothers, and yet they chose to believe the word of some random girl and not even confront me about it. It's been a couple of years since all this, so it's completely in my past now, and I've yet to find out why she ruined my social life like that. I'm glad this hasn't reached any of my relatives because this all might have been a different story if it did. I myself don't want to build a case against her because last I heard, all her closest friends have left her, and she has become an addict and has basically thrown her career in nursing out the window. What are your thoughts? Should I build a case against her and take her to court? And should I forgive my friends even if they didn't confront me about it and hear my side of the story? I'd love to hear what you all would have done in my situation. This next story was made in the relationship advice subreddit by a user named WorriedStrength7894. The post is titled, "I am 25F and my boyfriend's family, 26, lost their home in a fire. They are asking me to put my name on a mortgage loan so they can buy a new house. I'd love to be helpful, but is that too much to ask? Edit. This house would be in my name on the deed. The cats are not destroying my apartment as so many people are assuming, just the couch. I obviously care about these people, which is why I would even consider it, so please stop creating a story in your head where I'm some sucker wanting to be scammed. I've been dating my boyfriend for almost 4 years, living together for about 2. I'll cut to the chase. His family, mom, dad, and sister, suffered a house fire in January, and they stayed with us in our 1-bedroom apartment for a couple of weeks until their insurance got them a hotel. Now they are in the hotel. His family had 10 cats, and 9 of those cats are in the apartment with us currently. So it's me, him, and 9 cats right now. They pay for the food and litter, but I've bought them a cat tower and some toys. They've basically destroyed my couch, but I figured they would, and it was a cheap couch. This past Sunday, 2 days ago, they went to see a realtor to talk about buying a house. Where they lived was a place they rented for a decade, and the landlord was pissed about the fire, so they don't want to go back there even when the house is fixed. My boyfriend was supposed to be the one on the loan because his parents aren't citizens and would have to pay an arm and a leg on a down payment. But since he has a social security number, he can get a regular rate. The problem is he doesn't make enough on his own. If I went in on it with him for the loan, our combined income would be enough to qualify. If I go in on the loan, we could stay with his family in the house and save for our own home later. We'd have more space, which would be great because I'm trying to start a business and I wouldn't be living in the 1-bedroom with 9 cats, but it's also a 30-year mortgage loan. He has told me that whatever I decide to do won't affect our relationship, but I'm afraid this will for me. If I don't decide to go on the loan, his parents said they'll get a trailer and take the cats, but his sister, 19, would still probably end up living with us because her job is close to us and she doesn't drive. I feel like I'm losing it. I feel like no matter what I do, I'm losing something. I'm so conflicted. I've asked the advice of my mom and some friends and they think they're asking too much, but if I don't go in on the house, I'm still in this apartment that costs too much and adding an extra person to our space. So I'm asking, should I just let them put my name on the mortgage loan, or should I accept that his sister will be living with us? I hate to add any more elements of stress to their lives because they've already been through so much, but now it's leaking into my life. A lot. TLDR, my boyfriend's family suffered a house fire and is asking me to go on the loan with him so they can get a house. If I don't, they'll get a trailer for themselves and their 10 cats, and his sister will live with us. Help me pick my poison? Edit. So this got a lot of attention fast. I'd like to clear up that they aren't pressuring me, but it's obviously a tense situation for them because, it's their housing on the line. They're just kind of at the mercy of insurance paying for their hotel. It's a desperate situation and a desperate ask. I will talk to my boyfriend today about different options. I spoke to my mom, who is a homeowner, and she advised against this, but seeing all of your reasons as well, like not being able to get a second mortgage because of this one, is a nail in the coffin. I'll suggest his sister stay with us as long as she is looking for another place of her own, and encourage her to maybe look to roommate with a good friend of hers maybe. I knew this would be a risky move, but seeing how much it really takes from me, just no. I will update later, but have peace of mind that I will not be taking out a mortgage for his family. User Jamusi Birchin said, "Don't do it. I'm sorry for your BF's family, but don't do it. This can easily get you trapped. If you consider it, meet with a lawyer and get a contract that is for your benefit and doesn't leave you with the costs for all this. What if you do it and your BF leaves anyway? Anyway, that sounds very fishy to me. If you were my client, I would tell you as an accountant to stay away from this. You are just the girlfriend, and you are in a position easily to abuse and use." User usually right to said no on the mortgage and no on the sister moving in. If you put your name on that mortgage, you will not be able to get another until it's paid off or refinanced in someone else's name. If you and this boyfriend break up, you can't just get out of the mortgage. If they stop paying, you are the one who has to pay. If your BF wants to sign up for this shit show and himself financially, that's fine. Stupid, but fine. Don't you do it to yourself though. And also, if you two won't be living there, the mortgage rates will be different as well. And why would you want to live with his family? If you feel guilty for saying no to the mortgage and to sister moving in, that's okay. Feeling guilty is a hell of a lot easier to get over than having your credit tied up or wrecked. Just no. User Anatari Elalifi said, "Don't put yourself on their loan. This will be a catastrophic decision for you. The parents need to get a trailer for them and their cats. And 9 cats is too many cats to have a safe, hygienic environment in such close quarters as an apartment and trailer. People that cannot afford to pay for their own down payments on their living arrangement should not be owning that many pets. You are not your boyfriend's parents' keepers. They are grown adults who need to be responsible for themselves, their pets, and their own children. I am 110% sure that you should not do this, and I will tell you that even though you have been dating your boyfriend for 4 years, these types of stresses on a relationship from outside forces, when not controlled and mitigated, will cause your relationship to fail. Your boyfriend cannot seriously expect you to sign away 30 years of financial responsibility for his parents. That is an unreasonable expectation, very selfish, and you will never get out from it. User Sheesh Coco said, 4 years in a relationship and still no marriage, but he wants you to take up a loan for his family. So you are good enough to incur debt on his family's behalf, but not good enough to be a family member through marriage. Why are you considering this again? Not long after, OP provided an update. I'll be honest, I was not inclined to sign anything. Not because I didn't think his family would follow through or anything, I just knew I didn't know enough to make this decision. Homeownership is a distant thought right now at the age of 25. I came here hoping to see if this is something people actually do and what it would mean for me and my boyfriend if we did. The obvious risk was, what if we break up? But I knew there was more than that, and you all made that clear. First things first, no mortgage. I made that post yesterday morning, and after reading through the comments that actually gave insight into something like this, I realized, yeah, there is no way we can do this. I wish it was a viable option to solve their current problem, but it just isn't. Fortunately, by the time I got home after work and talked to my boyfriend about it, he also had realized that this was not a good idea. Glad I had the foresight to make us wait before giving his family an answer. It just stunted too much of our own opportunities for the future, so we were both on the same page about it, thank God. Someone mentioned that you can learn a lot about someone by how they handle the word no, and I can say that I didn't really learn anything, but just confirmed suspicions I already had. His mom was very understanding, and I don't think she even understood what she was asking when it came up. After my boyfriend explained it to her, she told his dad, who is not his bio dad or even his stepdad, just his mom's longtime boyfriend. This matters for the next part. His dad did not take it very well. Before any of this, my boyfriend's parents told him they would help him get his credit up so he could take on the loan for the house. They'd help pay off his credit card and obviously front the money for the down payment. And they said even if we didn't help with the house, they'd still do that since he's helped so much already. Coordinated with the Red Cross to get them assistance after the fire, helped wrangle the cats, housed the cats and his family, went with them to the realtor. As I suspected though, once we made it clear that it was not happening with the mortgage and how it would damage our future chances at a home for ourselves, his dad wasn't happy. When his mom asked if they would still pay my boyfriend's credit card, his dad said no. He didn't help us, so we won't help him, is how he put it apparently. Yeah, like I said, my boyfriend's family is dysfunctional. I can't say I've ever had the most respect for his dad, but he's been there for most of my boyfriend's life. I have lots of thoughts on how this should go, but ultimately we are just going to try problem solving in different ways. Definitely no rushing into quick fixes. Maybe be less ready to help so his dad can see what that's actually like. Also, a note to you all as a collective. I understand that the world is full of cruel people, but I think a lot of you miss the context of this situation when you cast judgment on his family's intentions. This is a family who has been displaced in a house fire. They are immigrants who aren't completely and perfectly savvy to all the logistics of buying a home. The reality for a lot of immigrants is that they do rush into terrible solutions because they don't always think they have another option. They know they have fewer resources because they lack citizen status, and it's not uncommon for children to help their parents in extreme ways. And that doesn't just apply to immigrants. There are people all over the world taking extreme risks to try and better their situation, but since they have lived so long needing to think on their feet, they don't always feel like they can afford to look for other options. All that to say, practice a bit more compassion. I understand that this was too much of a risk for myself, but that's not going to stop me from helping them where I can. Thanks for your help. User PM Me Your Chihuahuas said, as a child of immigrants, I get some of the concerns. However, my parents bought and sold houses several times before they became citizens, including new builds. It's not impossible for immigrants if they have legal status here. More difficult, yes, but non-citizen immigrants buy homes in the US all the time. Under this comment, OP said, oh, for sure. My mom is an immigrant and her parents owned a home before becoming citizens here. With my mom's help, I'm pretty sure. I think she would send them money sometimes. I know it's not impossible for immigrants to be savvy, but I've met plenty who are not. My mom currently works with families who have recently moved to the US to help register their kids for school, so I meet a lot of people in a variety of situations. It was funny seeing comments of people saying, that's too many people in one apartment. I've met people who share a 1-bedroom apartment with a whole other family. 2 families in one apartment. All I know is that some people have to work with what they've got, and I can't knock them for trying. User Gen5872 said, I'm glad that his mom took it well at least. Having said that, I understand that they were displaced by a fire, but they were renters, hopefully with renter's insurance, and tried to turn that into buying a home instead of finding a new place to rent. That's like, hey, I just totaled my beater Ford, but you'll sign the loan for a Mercedes, right? Renting is something they should be able to do on their own, considering they were already doing that. Finding a new rental would also be the quicker option and doesn't put you on the hook. User Impossible Balance 11 said, also, please don't get engaged or married to your BF before he sorts out his credit card issues, figures out how to budget properly, and demonstrates financial responsibility for quite a period of time. It will make a world of difference in your lives going forward, greatly reduce the amount of stress you live under. Credit card interest rates are stupid high. Carrying a balance is one of the most financially self-destructive things you can do. User Snoopets8873 said, I am from an immigrant family. My father would never ask me to co-sign anything, and he would never make financial assistance to his children contingent on them risking their financial future, which is what this guy was asking not just his son, but his son's girlfriend to do. I think your MIL has good intentions and maybe not great financial instincts. That's a common situation and certainly not something I'd see as a red flag, but I'd be wary of Mill's boyfriend when it comes to future ideas related to money.